Good evening. My name is Chris Cataldo, and I'm running for the United States Congress. I want to take a moment with you to speak about the greatest public health crisis of our time. The heroin opioid epidemic is a crisis that each and every community within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and throughout the nation is faced with. Here in Massachusetts, 4 people a day are dying as a result of this epidemic. Last year alone, 47,000 lives were claimed as a result of the opioid and heroin epidemic overtaking our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that we will not be able to incarcerate our way out of a public health crisis of addiction. We need to make sure we stand with the families and with the community members that are faced with these challenges, for there is no person within our society that is going to escape this crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, 80% of those that are doing heroin began their opioid addiction through a prescription that began with a doctor instructing them for an injury regarding pain relief. We need to make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that doctors are not overprescribing opioids, that those that are coming in for pain treatment are not being provided a prescription for opioids unless it is absolutely necessary and the last resort. We need to make sure that the profits being made off of opioid medications to the tunes of billions of dollars to these pharmaceutical companies are also coming back to the communities to fund and pay for the treatment and rehabilitation facilities that are so desperately needed to save lives in our towns and cities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is no coincidence that the molecular composition of heroin and opioids are almost identical. It's time for that money that's coming in the form of profits to those pharmaceutical companies to go towards relief and rehabilitation. We need to make sure that those that are prescribed opioids, those that are suffering from this addiction, are never put in a situation where they have to choose between opioids and heroin. We need to make sure that the relief, that the education, that the rehabilitation isn't just a 7-day detox, but is something comprehensive and is something that works, so that no person is ever going to succumb to the addiction and make that decision to switch from an opioid-related medication that they had no choice to be addicted to heroin, a much cheaper option that becomes really not an option, but a necessity that fuels crime in our communities, a necessity that our police officers will confirm when they tell you almost all of the crime that we see derives from some sort of heroin-related matter. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we need to make sure that we understand the problem, that we make sure that the 80% of those that don't go with the proper treatment find at least treatment that can give them a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, we aren't giving many folks a chance, and we need to make sure that we recognize this epidemic for what it truly is and make sure the adequate resources and attention and education are provided to it. Ladies and gentlemen, these deaths are not numbers or statistics. These are people. These are our brothers and sisters, our aunts and uncles, our cousins, our mothers and fathers, and ladies and gentlemen, these lives matter, and we need to make sure that the pharmaceutical companies are held accountable for those lives that they've taken from us, and that we as a nation, especially as a Commonwealth, come together to do what we can to save lives. These are changes that can happen immediately. We need to make sure that any legislative action that is taken doesn't create demand for heroin, but diminishes the need and very existence for it to even have. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to make sure that we stand together and that we work together to solve this problem, because it will affect you if it hasn't already. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all, and God bless you all, especially those that are suffering from this great tragedy. Know that you don't stand alone, that we will find a solution, and it starts today with the knowledge of how this has happened and what we can do to solve it. Thank you.